Hey everyone, my name is John Graham Harper. I'm the CEO of Lumaflex. Lumaflex is a portable, flexible, durable, waterproof red light therapy panel. I have one right here. So my journey in fitness, I started out as a competitive athlete. I played rugby. I went to CrossFit. I got into amateur boxing. I finished off being competitive in bodybuilding, but throughout that time, I was I was injured a lot. I was riddled with injuries, and red light therapy helped me to recover. So, and obviously, I'm fast approaching 40. So, being less aggressive and being more sort of in tune with my limits, what I'm capable of, and be more focused on recovery. It's sort of more that's what I'm all about right now. So, red light therapy is a key component to recovery, to overall well-being. So, yeah, that's something I communicate, obviously, with my journey as an athlete and what I went through and how, I've definitely avoided surgery. I've avoided a lot of medication as well using red light therapy. So it's obviously good to get the word out and encourage people to get onto red light therapy. It's natural, it's non-invasive, it's from the sun, right? It's something it's in our biology. We're creatures of light. We should be exposed to light. Yeah, I was very tall and skinny when I was young. So I obviously hit the gym to get stronger, to build armor, to get confident. But my joints were always quite weak. I've got smaller joints. And so I would play basketball as a kid just in school. But when I got into rugby, it's high impact. It's a high impact sport, right? Impact sports are obviously the injury risk is a lot higher. But yeah, the first injury I had in rugby was on my shoulder. The first tour that I did with the team, I busted my shoulder. It came out of socket. It was dislocated, and I had like a micro fracture on the bone, which was no fun, especially when you're on tour. And it's all about having fun with the team and winning, and then going out for beers afterwards, you know. But yeah, I remember that took quite a number of months to heal up. And I would always wear a brace. I would always try to keep it safe. But then going into the next game, I remember I only played like 2 or 3 games, and I busted the other shoulder. So I was like, you know what, rugby, forget, I shouldn't be doing this. So I moved on to CrossFit, and CrossFit, as you know, is a it's an intense. It's sort of making workout gym sessions into a sport. It's like gamifying it in a sense, right? So that means and if you're going competitive, they have these events that they do every year. There's regional, right? There's all these events that kind of all culminate into the world's fittest man, right? Or the world's fittest woman. So if you're competitive, you have to really gun it. You have to go. So I remember you're doing a high load, but you're also doing high volume. Usually if you have high load, you do little volume, right? And you do high load, little volume, or high volume, you do, low load, right? So, or the other way around. But yeah, basically you're trying to maximize your strength, your mobility and everything all simultaneously, and be a superstar, right? A super athlete. But through that, I got a really bad left knee injury. And I don't exactly know what it was. It was just something that really irritated me. And then it got to the point where, I couldn't really, I couldn't sit down for an extended period of time without getting very inflamed and getting very painful. I would have to carry this deep heat. It's like this cream that you can buy like Walgreens or whatever, but I would rub it on there to lubricate the joint to be able to walk around. But that was probably the worst injury out of all of them. Because later I got into boxing. I was fighting amateurs, and over a couple of years, just from impacts to the head, the doctor said that I had micro traumas in my head, and I developed a tumor. It was about the size of my thumb, which had to be removed. But the doctor told me, just avoid any impact sports. It's better not to have this sort of collision with your body. You can't handle it. So I went into bodybuilding, but bodybuilding, there's no rivalry. There's no sort of me versus you kind of thing, which is what I really sort of thrived off. I fed off that, it's more just like you're presenting what you've worked on to a judge, and the judge does it, he compares, and he says your calves suck and his calves are better. And I didn't like that. I was like, I like my calves. I don't like his. But yeah, didn't find much interest in bodybuilding, and then I just focused on red light. But going back to the knee injury, my wife actually introduced me to red light therapy using this lamp. It was a very long lamp it was like a bedside lamp, but it was just very cumbersome. It was heavy. It was hard to use. It had a large weighted base. It would swivel around, and the bulb was a very large red bulb, and it would heat up really hot. And at that time, like this was like 7 years ago, I thought it was the heat that was healing me. And she's Chinese, my wife's Chinese. So I thought it was sort of like some feng shui medicine thing. And I was like, just doing it to obviously appease her, make her feel, to make her feel happy. But I would put my knee, I would extend my knee out, and I'd put the bulb I would angle it at my knee. And I would play this game where I would try to get very close to the bulb to get the therapy, but then it would be so hot that I would have to move it away, and I'd sort of go up and down. But she told me do it 20 minutes a night, every night before bed. And actually after a week, I didn't have that pain in my knee anymore. And how I knew that was because I was sitting in a seated position. I didn't need to extend my leg because I remember taking just a cab, or sitting on a plane it was very difficult because I would have to push my leg through the seat in front of me to try to extend it, and it would hurt so bad. I was really uncomfortable. But yeah, after a week, I didn't need to use the lamp anymore. And then after 2 weeks, we gave the lamp to, her grandparents. We didn't need it anymore. But it got me interested as to what, it was. And obviously I learned it was actually the light. And then I was thinking a device that is more portable, something more suited to me as an athlete, someone who moves around a lot, there's more like a wearable would be ideal, for this treatment. So, I mean, that's what the Lumaflex is all about. It's a silicone panel, so it can mold to joints and muscles, right? So this can shape around your knee, can shape around your elbow, your shoulder, right? So you can have this targeted treatment. And the panel, it's not textile. Being silicone means you can wash it, right? It's quite clean. And it's fully waterproof. This one in particular, the Body Pro, I've got another one, the Essential, but this is sort of like the flagship product, is fully waterproof. And just, me as a competitive athlete growing up, being very skinny with weak joints and, training, exercising, getting putting on muscle, but then my joints having a lot of trouble sort of getting strong along with my muscles. I was just so injury prone. I was always those injuries that I mentioned were the ones that were the most severe, the ones that kind of they stopped me as an athlete. As your career, you come to a full stop and you're like, okay, I got to backtrack a bit. I got to fix up before going. But I would have so many other injuries. I was just always the guy that was, it's broken. I got to go home. The kid on the soccer field that would always have to leave, or the kid on the basketball field that would always have to leave. I was just always getting injured, it was so injury prone. It was like a joke in my family. They were they would bandage themselves up, and they'd say, "Who's this?" And they'd be like, "It's John." But yeah, that's kind of how it all came about, just using it and experiencing it and just thinking wow, I really appreciate treatment like this, but the device and the application, how do and customizing it to someone like myself that it gets broken in all the different places, right? I need something that can go on my shoulder as well as my knee, and all in one device, right? So that's kind of where, the Lumaflex was born, sort of my personal pain story.
Are you a personal trainer, online fitness coach, or gym owner on the verge of burnout? Are you wanting to grow your fitness business but can't add more hours to your hectic schedule? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today. It's definitely something I think that a lot of our listeners can benefit from, not just your product in particular, but just knowing about this. I mean, obviously, having something that they can use, a lot of our listeners are going to be bodybuilders, power lifters, some CrossFit people, and those kind of people, especially in the bodybuilding world where you have so much going on, time is of the essence. And if you can just not have to go to another location to get this taken care of, it seems like a no-brainer to be like, okay, I'm sitting at home, I might be, instead of taking an hour, 30 minutes out of my day to go to this place, come back, and then continue with my day, I can just like, while I'm meal prepping, I can put it on or whatever for, X amount of time and just take it off when I'm done. And, I can just continue to do what I'm doing. So it's pretty cool from that aspect. But I think before people are going to go and do something or use a product, they got to know what it is. So, I mean, go into maybe a little bit about like really what red light therapy, near infrared is like, and maybe like how it actually works and what it does.
I wouldn't say it's as prominent in the bodybuilding world as other sports. It's sort of kicked off more in, like football, basketball. Obviously, I think it's quite big because taller guys, right? But in sort of those team sports, it's very big in golf. I think all the elite level players of any sport, they all have red light therapy devices. It's just usually they have the bigger ones. They have the big beds, the saunas, right? The large, more expensive devices. You hear like he's like a Jake Paul. You hear him talking about red light therapy at all before his boxing. But the simplest way to explain what red light therapy is it's from the sun. And the optimal time for us to get our red and infrared light is at sunrise and sunset. This time of the day, when I'm here in Miami and, sometimes the sunrises are so beautiful. You get that beautiful reddish orange, yellow color out. That's red and infrared light. And the light, the wavelengths, that's at the time of the day when the length of the light comes, it can actually pierce your skin and activate the mitochondria. So the mitochondria is the energy, the powerhouse of the cell, the engine of the cell. And as human beings, we're all made up of cells. We're made up of billions of cells. So the engine of the cell is the mitochondria. So if you're giving energy to the mitochondria, the engine of the cell can now do its job. And through that, we get three mechanisms. We get enhanced blood circulation, we get anti-inflammation, and then we get increased ATP, we get energy. So with these three mechanisms, we get a very large variety of outcomes. Like this is where, the LED beauty masks that women wear on TikTok. So that's red light, and that's the light is actually boosting collagen in your skin. So that's helping with women to look beautiful, to lose wrinkles or help with their acne. And that's the whole anti-aging space that's taken off, right, in beauty. We're using light therapy. Red light. So we're talking about red and infrared. So specifically, red is more surface area. So this is where we see actually in NASA. Many years ago, NASA. That's where red light started to become more prominent. Was astronauts were using it to grow plants in space, but then they realized it was healing abrasions on their hands. So then it started being used in the medical world where, for skin, for like wound healing, right? If you were in a car accident or if you were, you have a bruise on your face, if you were a boxer and you got some bruises going on, the red light can assist and accelerate in healing. But now infrared is much deeper, right? So the nanometers, the wavelengths of light go much deeper. And that's where you can get chronic pain relief, right? Where you can have arthritis and sciatica, very deep chronic pain conditions can actually be relieved through infrared light. So the device I've got, these LEDs, I'll just turn it back on. So you long press, you turn the battery on, and then you short press and you turn the panel on. So these LEDs, it's a dual chip. So it has both red and near infrared. So it can handle surface area conditions, and it can also go deeper into the skin and handle, deep pain conditions. So the red light, the nanometer, for all those listening, if you want to go deep dive, obviously check the website, lumaflex.com. But if when you're looking at red light, there's such a wealth of information out there from guys like Andrew Herberman. Like my favorite guys are Andrew Herberman, Ben Greenfield, Gary Brecka. Even Joe Rogan talks about it. He loves red light. They're all on it. But they'll talk about the nanometers, which nanometer is in which device, and what is the best nanometer. So generally speaking, all the nanometer within the red light, there's obviously multiple nanometers. Infrared lights, multiple nanometers, but the ones I've got is 630 for red and 850 for infrared. And those, generally speaking, I think have the most clinical research done on it. So you can, obviously, this is something that, your listeners can go and research. But you will get devices out there with, say, 910 or, 810, or 750, or that they'll sort of, but it's all within that same spectrum. It's still working. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. It's red and infrared light. In essence, it's from the sun, and it's mitochondria health. It's mitochondria energy, right? That's something that's very unique when it comes to injury and pain management. Sport. If someone is getting injured, usually they'll do a massage, or they'll put some cream on their shoulder or their back or wherever, and it doesn't actually heal the problem. It may, relieve it short term, but if you're looking long term and you really want to be completely whole and ready to go and train or play your sport again, you need to sort of attack the problem on a cellular level, and that's what light therapy is.
So you mentioned it earlier, but when you were first getting into or utilizing it without even knowing you were utilizing this therapy, you were like, just kind of doing it to appease the wife, and I'm just gonna, pretend I'm gonna play along here.
Yes, exactly that.
What I hear and I'm starting to hear and on the radio and seeing some things on TV, about red light therapy, and not just myself, but for many people out there, they're hearing these same messages of, are you a personal trainer who wants to scale and grow your business online? Have you been coaching online for years, yet don't know how to incorporate online into your current business model? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today. I think that the general media sometimes plays into things in such a way that makes it seem like unbelievable and spectacular and this miracle thing. So it can sometimes turn people off and turn people away that do have some sort of like health and fitness or wellness kind of background, because it's like, oh man, this can't be that good. It can't be doing that much stuff. But when it comes to this red light therapy and infrared, it's like, just the benefits you mentioned to, the skin health and the, eye health and joints and traumatic brain injury and all the different things that really are starting to, they're starting to uncover more and more about. I mean, do you see like do you start to look at like more research that's coming out and be like, all right, these are some more things that they're potentially going to kind of like officially come out and say that maybe they're not quite there yet with the research, but maybe it's leaning towards that red light therapy and these therapies can heal or can start to play a role in as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an exciting space to be in, because there's so much clinical research that is done on light therapy, especially red and infrared light. The majority of the clinical research is all in red and infrared light. Other spectrums of light, there's research done, but there's actually no FDA clearance. Like the Lumaflex is FDA class 2. So it's an FDA class cleared product. But the other light, like green light, orange light, purple light that you see in beauty, usually when you see the device, it will have the red light, which gets the FDA. But most of the clinical research in the other spectrums of light outside of red and infrared light, there's no FDA cleared on it. But still, there's a wealth of clinical research that's done. I have access to so many photobiomodulation scientists. Like photobiomodulation is the medical term for red light therapy, for light therapy or light treatment or light study. And I have so many scientists that I have access to, that I have a wealth of resource at my fingertips for any and all, anything that's up and coming. But for example, one lady I know, she's a neuroscientist from London. She is using red and infrared light therapy to cure brain diseases. So Alzheimer's, right? Parkinson's disease. These conditions I foresee within the next 5 years could potentially be completely cured just by using light therapy. So that's something really exciting that everyone, tuning in, just keep an eye on that. Also, there's a lot of research now that's coming out about cancer being potentially completely eradicated using light therapy. Wow. When you're in this space, there's a lot of research is always coming through, and I can feel like we're almost at at that point where social media is so strong, and everyone's sort of, the information is so readily available that it's hard for big pharma. It's hard for big pharma to stop I mean, they have to either get on board or get out kind of thing. So there's always this discussion as well when you're talking to functional medicine doctors and scientists that are pushing a natural means of treatment. There's always a discussion of like, is there going to be a backlash, or is there going to be sort of an attack from pharma? Because obviously that's a $1 trillion business where, getting people to take medication, which doesn't cure them, it gets them addicted, and it's not actually fixing the problem. It's actually just, appeasing the problem, right? It's only a surface level sort of a treatment solution. But this discussion is another thing that's really big in the biohacking optimization world. But information is so easy to, that you got, your TikTok, your Instagram and everything, where a lot of these optimizers and biohackers and people that are endorsing a natural way of living and natural way of recovery and overall well-being, they're pushing it out and they're getting the content out, and everyone's becoming, quite aware of it. So it's getting to the point now where it's almost not that surprising anymore. Like it's getting easier and easier to believe, because you have very large personalities, public figures, celebrities, even pro athletes that are endorsing it and pushing it. So yeah, but it's great. It's great to keep your ear to the wall, like, and hear about all these wonderful, potentially these diseases that are going to be eradicated just using something as simple as light therapy. I mean, who would have known, right? So exciting.
Does it start to like become a thing where, you have like light bulbs like at workplaces or in your home that are red light that can turn on for certain hours of the day or certain times in the day, or like, like how does that evolve into like more than just like, I guess, past like the entry level where we are now to like the next level? Do you see like that evolution happening, or like people starting to think about that evolution?
Yeah, in the next 5 years. In the next 5 years, there's going to be at least 3 devices in everyone's home that are to do with light therapy. I know companies that are talking about car seats that have, red light therapy in them, that you can sit in your car and, plain pillows, having their entire office decked out with red light, that, at certain, just to match your circadian rhythm. So if someone gets in early, you have your sunrise in your office, right? So you come in and you're like, oh, it's sunrise time, right? And then as the day is finished, right? So I'm at what, 6:30 now, let's say, in about an hour and a half, it's going to start to get dark, the light will start to turn red, right? So as a company that, companies doing this are supporting, sort of the mental health, the mental well-being of their staff, of their teams, because, that's our biology. We need to have an on and an off, right? Every day. That's the sunrise, sunset, that's our on and off, right? So yeah, all of that, I've heard about amazing things like this coming up. And I've even doing trade shows and doing like media events and just getting out there and doing sort of outreach and engagement with with the masses, with the audience. I've had people come to me and say, let's do the product together, let's make this together, let's do this, and it's all to do with red light therapy, like you said, becoming more incorporated into a person's life, right? Rather than us adapting to, an application or modality, or product and how it's suited, it's now we're adapting the products more to how we live, right? So that's very much happening right now. And I think in the coming years, it's going to explode. We're right at that big wave of not just red light, but all light therapy taking off in the whole world.
That's fascinating. I think, looking at things from like that, you mentioned holistic or kind of whole body and like natural kind of side of things. It's interesting to me because I'm a big supporter of it, but it does make me wonder, like, where does the potential for corruption, if that makes sense, or if that's maybe a good word, like, where does the potential for corruption come into play here for, like, I mean, when it comes to anything, right? Like, follow the money. That's always like kind of like the I guess somewhat negative mindset around it, but like, follow the money. Where does that lead when this stuff starts to get big and maybe starts to fight against even more like the pharmaceutical industry or whatever, kind of industries you want to talk about, maybe people just becoming more in tune with their health. Maybe they're fighting against, they're fighting against big agriculture because they don't want to eat any more foods that are, bad for them, or what, however that may shake out. I mean, is that something that you also think about too? Like, where do we keep this thing that seems like so positive and holistic and good right now. How do we keep it that way?
Yeah, or what would happen, I would imagine, is like a lot of bad press will come out, like fake news, right? But it's all like the thing about red light therapy is I think it's past the point where it's not like considered pseudoscience. I've met some people very, old, like they've been in the game for years, for over 20 years. Like I was using red light therapy, before that, I know I've met those guys that have kind of they knew about it from then on, and now they're like, wow, it's big. So the proof is in the pudding, right? It's what's happened with red light therapy. It's not like a cream, like I was talking about with the deep heat cream, or like a massage, right? Where when you take it, you get instant relief. There's, like there's a signal that goes to your brain that goes, ooh, that feels good. Wow, it must be working. With red light therapy, it's about 2 weeks. If you have some serious pain, like you got to invest 2 weeks of daily treatment. And for the Lumaflex, there's a 10-minute timer on the battery, so it will automatically turn off. I usually recommend 4 times, 10 minutes a day for 2 weeks, and then even longer if you can. There's a point where it switches and it works, and you're like, wow, this is it. I'm gonna do this forever. So there's a bit of a time investment into it, where you're sold onto it. You're sold onto the treatment, and you believe it. You see the light, right? You join the light train. But that's kind of how it's grown. Is a lot of times it's just the word of mouth and the people endorsing it because it's like saved them, it's saved their families. It's improved their not just their physical but also their mental health and the people around them. So they endorse it, and that you can't really stop. That you can't really corrupt, like you said. And that's something that, like, within the team of Lumaflex, usually if I'm engaging in a partnership or there's some sort of deal, or let's say an influencer or something, they're interested in it. I usually just say, look, I'm going to give you the product. You need to take it, and you just need to use it for 2 weeks, and then we'll continue our discussion. I need you to it isn't just a product that you use and you're like, oh, this could be good to work with these guys, right? It needs to be something that it's like, wow, this is a game changer, right? That's kind of the word I'm looking for, game changer. And that's always because then, like, no matter what happens, you're going to be invested in this technology. Maybe it won't even be this product, but you at least will be part of the larger group of people in the world that are all endorsing this product to help, the whole industry rise up. Mm-hmm. And that's really important for change, right? You need everyone involved.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned, kind of like how you prescribe, like, okay, that it's about 10 minutes and then it, shuts off. This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout. Let's say you have, multiple spots. Is that like, I can do 10 minutes on this spot, I can do 10 minutes on this spot, and then, like, is there a point where you can, like, for lack of a better term, OD on the light? Like, okay, you need to cut it off and stop putting it back on.
Yeah, there's no negative side effects to overusing red light therapy. So you can't overdose on it, right? It's just light. It sounds simple, but don't underestimate how powerful light can be, right? I've seen people with a device like not even 100th of the power of what Lumaflex is, and been like, after one treatment, been miraculously, healed from their pain. So, and then I've seen other people that it seems to take a little bit longer, right? Everybody's different. Everybody's pain levels are different. Everybody's recovery response is different. So if you say you have like a busted shoulder and a busted back, I mean, sometimes I use it so much. The joke in the company is like, I should be glowing. I should have like a red glow an aura, you could say, because I just keep using it. Like, I usually will get the panel, and I will just I'll do an Ironman. I call it an Ironman, and I just stick it like that for my heart, because a heart, right? If you're targeting like an area that you're sore, like your shoulder, you can focus on that area. But if you're like me and I'm not really broken, I don't really have any pains or anything, Then I just target the heart. I target the back of my head, right? This for the spine. I, put it on my forehead, which is good for the brain, and I put it on my gut, right? So these are areas that sort of optimize my overall well-being, just optimize, obviously all the mechanisms that are happening in my body, right? So that's what I always encourage, like for cardiovascular health, aiming at the lungs, aiming at your heart, right? Your circulatory system and all of that. Make sure that you're getting pretty cool. So, but make sure you're getting just the organs as well, just for your overall well-being and wellness, right?
Yeah, that's fascinating, because I think a lot of people may say, I don't have an injury, I don't have this, I don't have that. And so like, how do I use it? So you're saying like just a daily usage on these kind of optimal spots can really start. I mean, is it something where you're going to, I mean, maybe it could be different for each person. So this is kind of a broad question, but like, oh man, I can notice that difference. Or is it more along the lines of like, hey, we're doing this preventative maintenance, or we're, like which one do you feel like maybe for you it is more of?
How I would think about it is like sunrise, sunset, right? If we were living in primal times and we were cavemen, we would wake up at we'd wake up when the sun came up, right? And we'd go to sleep at sunset. So that like we would be getting our light. Think of it like, every day you need clean water, every day you need healthy food, every day you need, good deep sleep, every day you need regular exercise. Everyone in the world, across the world, all agrees with this. Yes, these are we need every day. I would say additionally to that, we do need light. We need light is important. Light alone, like as our bodies we're creatures of light. If you want to go deep into our history and the Egyptians and all this and how light was such a big part of our past, right? And everyone would, worshiping or doing things with light. It's all there. But at the end of the day, it's just our bodies, how we were made, we need the sunlight. Sunlight is a key part of us as human beings. So I always say, like, if you are whole, you do need light. Like if you're someone that, even if you're 30 degrees away from the equator, you're not going to have access to sunrise and sunset. And if you're the kind of person that, you wake up in your day, you're in a concrete sort of, you got your windows, so no light's coming in. So you go outside, you get into your car, you get a little bit of light there, but then you go into work and then you're under artificial light, right? Artificial light isn't, I mean, this is something that really supports anxiety, depression, right? So you're throughout your day, if you were to think about your day and saying, how much actual sunlight do I get per day? And would I, if I'm, on the weekends, I go out, I play with my dog at the park, or I go to the beach and hang out with my missus or whatever. You wouldn't do that the same for water. You wouldn't have like bad water throughout the whole day and then suddenly have good water or clean water, on the weekends. So if you think of it like that, you say, well, I can't necessarily just go out and be outside. Maybe I can take phone calls or do some work, remotely, and I can get some sunlight. And I think this will be good for my overall well-being, help me get more energized, think more positively, keep my head clear, help me, fight against anxiety and depression and all those things that, seem to be popping up in the world now. If you can't, then, this is a device that you can literally turn it on and have it by you, right? You can have access to the light, and it can be simply just available to you as your body's intaking this light. So I always think of it like that, like you don't just think of red light as something that I obviously communicate this as a pain management solution. It's targeted treatment. It's supposed to be on your skin. You can wrap it to joints and muscles. I always preach this. But then there's also a strong use for using light just as a daily, just for your daily dose of light. I mean, Andrew Herberman, who I think is like one of the most credible, people to talk about light and, just overall optimization. He says, like, first thing in the morning, you need to go outside and expose yourself to at least 10 minutes of light. So, each to their own what their schedules are, but look at a red light therapy device as also just a way to get your light vitamins, we could call it, right?
Something that I'm very interested in is the eye health aspect of it. Is that something that your product can help with, or is there, like what kind of benefits have you kind of maybe seen with just red light in general when it comes to the eye health?
It's funny. I actually get asked that question a lot about, eye health and red light therapy, because So for infrared light, like especially if you have a very powerful device like a panel, it's not advised to look into the infrared light, right? You're supposed to put on those like little funny, tanning glasses, right? But I know there are devices out there that eye doctors use to cure eye diseases, and I guess it's just the kind of device. Now, for what I do, like say for dry eye, right? Or for usually I get if I'm working a lot on the computer and I don't have like my blue light blockers, and it's just one of those days where I'm smuggy in my head, you could say. I do get like a headache behind my eyes. I will close my eyes and I'll lay down and I'll put the device on my face, but I'll keep my eyes closed. Which obviously infrared light, that's fine. But I don't ever advise anybody to stare at the light. Don't stare at it. But I've heard people say like, it's good for your eyes. And I've heard people say like, no, stay away, like even from far away. But yeah, that's something definitely, to look into. I just wouldn't myself, I would never look into it. I would keep my eyes closed, but I would still get the benefits of infrared light from, with my closed eyes.
One of the cool things I saw was what's the word it used? It was preconditioning, I think maybe was the word. Your skin, using it on your skin helped like precondition you for the more like ultraviolet rays of the sun that would come along with that. And that I think
Wow,
that's
all of yeah, it naturally boosts your body's SPF levels, right? So, I mean, this leads into a whole argument that like if you go in the biohacking world, nobody uses sunscreen. Everyone's like, oh no, it's the biggest scam in the world. And I remember, way before thinking like, what is this? This sounds, I've been using, I'm from Australia, right? I would like I would have to, in Australia, they had this campaign called Slip, Slop, Slap. When it was a campaign, the government was trying to get people to put sunscreen on. So my mom was always like, she would get zinc. It's like a really thick sunscreen, and she would put it on my nose when I would play cricket. But yeah, like I mean, can you imagine just as, again, us as primal, when we would wake up with the sunrise, this would give us the protection. It would boost our body's SPF levels to be able to handle the later rays of during the day. And this repeated meant that we didn't ever get sunburned. So you think like, wow, this is what? No, I haven't used, like, since obviously learning a lot about this, I can't remember the last time I used sunblock. Because yeah, I mean, if you're using red light therapy all the time, I just have never used it. And the sun is very strong now in Miami. I've been all right. I would look like an absolute tomato when I was a kid in Australia, I remember. But the sun is much stronger there, it's true. When you hang out with a bunch of scientists, a bunch of biohackers, a bunch of optimizers, and some of them are really like freaking smart. Like some of them, you look at them and you're like, you're on another level. There's like smart, like, Elon Musk smart, and then there's smart like, whoa, this dude is, I don't know where to put you on the planet. I don't know what to like. I don't know. I don't think there's a place for you here. Like, I think and those kind of scientists, they're the ones that just sort of go off and do their thing. And they don't care about trying to convert anyone. They're over it. They're just like, I want to learn more. I want to focus more. And if you're willing to listen, I can, but you got to catch up because I'm way over here. And, but when talking with all with groups of people like this, there's never a discussion of, oh, was it aliens or was it some, lizard people, or like, it's all like, no, this is all possible. It's all like basic physics and light and, magnetism and frequencies and vibrations. And it's just that we have stopped doing it. We've forgotten it. And it's now, in some ways, it's suppressed. It's like not encouraged or talked about because it will make such a dramatic change in the world that the way that the world is run and who runs it may not necessarily be running or ruling the world if this technology and information were available to everybody. That's kind of like how, in that group, that's kind of how it's talked about. Like, there's no like, oh, I bet this was aliens. It's never. They're all like, no, if you break this down, it's possible. Like, you can draw diagrams and sort of see how, whereas if you're looking from the outside, it all just is like, oh, this is hocus pocus. you know, this is black magic. But it's all just straight up science that, has just been forgotten. Like I recently had I went to, what is it, Coral Castle here in close to Miami, and that's like America's Stonehenge. Stonehenge with all the rocks and everything.
Yeah.
I went there with a guy that's he's an incredibly intelligent human. And the way he explained it all I was like, wow, this is obviously this leads to the discussion of how the pyramids were built, right? But when you go to Coral Castle and you do the tour, the tour guides, they throw out this narrative like the guy who built, maybe he was an alien, or maybe he had help from aliens, and they say it. And then when you have like an intelligent person that is a scientist and that knows the background of it, and he's explained to you, it just seems so silly. You're like, oh, you're saying this just to sort of create a mystery. You're throwing it out there so that everyone's just like, okay, give up. I'm not going to try to figure out how this was done. I'm going to just leave it as a mystery from aliens, and I'm going to go about my day. And you kind of just observing that, I was kind of thinking, it sort of dawned on me, like, that's kind of how the way the world is with this, with this natural energy, natural sort of remedies. That's kind of how the world does it. Like the powers that be, that's how they do it, right? They create like a narrative like, oh, it's impossible, it's a mystery, or it's fake, or whatever. And then people leave it alone, and then they go about their day. But if you look at it from the right perspective, it's game changing, right? It's you're like, wow, there's a lot that's going to potentially that could be changing in the world in the future.
Yeah. Well, that's what excites me the most about where all this stuff is headed, whether it's, the light therapies or whatever kind of other interesting and cool fields that are getting more research, getting more attention, people are talking about more. It just really makes me think, like, what is the world going to look like in 10 years and 20 years and 100 years in regards to health and in regards to longevity and all those kind of things that I find so interesting. I just think that, we're so close to like unlocking something that is going to be a game changer.
Yes, absolutely. It's good on your podcast you're talking about this stuff, because there's going to be sort of an age of awakening, you could say, as more and more people start to understand this. That's when you need like a certain percentage of the world's population to be on board with something for it to be changed, for change to sort of instigate. And this is all change for the good. So, you're part of that sort of that movement, right? That that cause, you could say, to create this worldwide awareness, which is going to be, wow, it's going to be, it would be great, right? It'll only bring about good things. Change is always a good thing, especially if it's, positive change.
Yeah, for sure. So to kind of wrap things up, I really appreciate you coming on, for one. And, if you just want to share with anybody kind of like what separates your products and how, what you do, how you do it, and, where can people find it and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share. Obviously, I hugely appreciate any opportunity to get on a channel, talk about it, because it's, again, just about getting the word out, right? It's creating awareness, right? But for Lumaflex, the world's #1 portable red light therapy panel, you just go to lumaflex.com. If you want to reach out to me, I'm John Graham Fitness on Instagram. I'm always usually on Instagram because a lot of our influencers are on there, a lot of our pro athletes and celebrities. They're on there, so it's good to use that as a means of communication. So I'm always readily available for any talks, discussions, questions. If you've got any concerns, just feel free to reach out. Yeah, and join the red light train. That's my final thought. Join the red light train.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.